This episode of The Bill and Callie Show is brought to you by
Connections Restored, helping people who have suffered from trauma, PTSD, and addictions. Connect with us at connectionsrestored.com. Connections Restored.
Hi friends, how is everybody doing today? So excited to share episode 32 of Connections Restored TV with you today. My name is Amy Boswinkle. I'm an intuitive and a women's energetic mindset marketing and strategy business coach. Today I have a guest expert, Chris Thomas, here with me. He was with us on a show several weeks ago. We had 3,200 views on that show. It is the best show Connections Restored TV has done to date, and I wanted to bring Chris back because so many amazing things has happened for him and his life and his message of experience, strength, and hope since he's been on the show. And I just wanted to share a little bit more of his story of experience, strength, and hope. So for those of you who missed that episode, Chris Thomas is an advocate for addicts seeking sobriety. He's a tried and true Browns fan, a father of a 19-year-old son. He has over a year clean from narcotic drugs, and he has 4 months or 120 days clean from alcohol. He's an avid traveler, a foodie, and a lover of nature. And Chris has such a phenomenal story. He has shared so many different stories of his life with me, and there are so many that I would love to share with all of you. So without further ado, I would love to present Chris Thomas to you guys again tonight and ask you, Chris, what have you been up to since the last time we've spoken to one another and to the audience?
That's been pretty busy.
Yeah.
Yes, it has. That last interview we did with as many folks as it has reached and touched, a lot of folks have reached out to me.
Yeah.
Just for advice, for help, for guidance.
Yeah.
I just, I feel that people are just, the more people are seeing it, even if they don't respond, I know that it's touching them, and hopefully, it's keeping them sober. I've had a few people reach out and say, "Hey, Chris, I was going to drink today, but I saw your video and you said something and I didn't." One day at a time, right? It's great. It's fantastic.
I can only imagine, I would imagine that having the impact of your story, right, touch so many other people's lives has been so incredibly humbling, but also inspiring and something that has kept you going. Can you share a little bit about, the journey that you've taken since the episode aired where you shared your story and touched all those lives and have all these people reaching out to you now? Because I know I have really seen you skyrocket and thrive and overcome some adversity, some Facebook adversity recently. So can you share a little bit about what kind of an impact you felt called to continue contributing to others?
Well, when you reference that, like we we're just saying, folks I've noticed that have reached out to me, they have mentioned how seeing me go live daily in my sobriety group on Facebook has helped them, even if it's one day, stay sober. In return, doing these live videos and coming on the show with you, it's helping me stay sober. Everybody needs a tool they need something for inspiration, whether it be my videos or their kids or boyfriends, girlfriends, husbands, wives, if it's waxing your car every day, whatever it is, something that is meaningful to you. Well, with me reaching out to people, and that's something that I never knew that I had in me, that I never knew I had such a passion for. Because when I was in addiction and I didn't care about anything, I didn't care how I would be perceived to people. I didn't care how if I would go shopping and I'm drunk, people are looking at me like, look at this guy. You know, and I never thought that I would come out of that.
Yeah.
So doing these videos and coming on Facebook the way we do is a tool for me to stay sober. Because in the end, I look at it, if I was to go out and have a beer or get high, I couldn't come on and tell people how to, you know, challenge people and whatnot. I'd be a hypocrite. So it's helping me stay sober. And I do think that my passion for it is reaching out to folks. And it's helping them stay sober as well.
Absolutely, absolutely. And you know, Chris has shared so many incredible stories with me regarding his past, and one that really sticks out to me, friends, is, you know, the fact that he has been to prison 3 times, and he is willing to go to a really vulnerable place, because most of you know, and I know, that people who go to prison 3 different times for drug and alcohol related offenses, even if that isn't the exact charge, don't always have the most successful recovery rate. And what I really hope to share with all of you are stories of inspiration and stories of hope and faith, that no matter what you've been through in your life, there is a place that you can arrive to where you can completely and totally transform everything in your life. And Chris is one of those stories. You know, being in prison and traveling down that road, I can't even imagine. But would you share a little bit about your experiences in being in prison 3 different times? You know, like, what led you there, and when you were still an active addict and still in active addiction, what were some of the stories you told yourself of how you arrived there?
When I started out, when I was younger, it was like in experimental stages. You know, I tried pot, drinking, and then as time went on, you know, I met people, places, and things, right? So I met, you know, people that have done cocaine. I've met people that have done heroin. I've met people that have done meth. And, you know, me, I've been in rehab, you know, many times. And one thing I have learned is, like, I have an addictive personality. So if it's something that I like, I'm gonna run with it. Marijuana for a while, and it seemed like I went in stages. Marijuana for a while, but when I found cocaine, I mean, that's what really controlled me. I tried heroin, never grabbed me. Thank God for that, because we hear the stories today of people overdosing in Wisconsin. And you know, and drinking was something else that it was the hardest, believe it or not, to give up. Of all the substances, was the hardest to give up. But to answer your question, as the addictions, especially when I found the drugs and drug choices that I liked, and as they started taking over me, I wasn't in my right mind. Not the person that I was growing up. So then I started to do things, breaking laws. I didn't have any money, and you know, when an addict don't have money and they want to get high, they're going to do whatever it is they have to do to get the money, or to whatever it takes to get the drug. And that's the point that I was at. And I was never that way, girl. I was always responsible, always had a job. But looking back, I could see the impact and the influence that the drug had on me. It turned me, how I was when I was a kid, to something that I'm not. You know, and so. Yeah, I started to do things, you know, gone to stores and stealing, clothes, TVs, you name it. Anything it did. So I would get paid. I still had a job because I was functional. I would get paid. I blew my whole paycheck on a Friday night on drugs. And then I want more. It's 4 o'clock in the morning. I have to be at work at 7. I'm still out there looking to get high. Now I'm going to convenience store stealing 12 packs, cases of beer just to take to the drug dealers just to get more. And unfortunately, it caught up to me. The law caught up to me, you know. Yeah, and that's what led me down the road to prison. So the first prison stay. And then when I was in there, I think I did like 13 months. And when I got out, I was sober for a while because it scared me. But that addiction kept calling back, and there I go back again. Right in the same boat that I was. You know, and then I ended up, when I got out of prison the first time, I met a girl that was an addict, and her and I were addicts together, and then we started, you know, breaking all legally and going back to jail again. I've been on probations. I was so bad on probation. About 6 or 7 years ago, I mentioned in one of my videos that I do on my Facebook group. Every Wednesday, I knew I had to go see my PO. my probation officer, every Wednesday, and every Wednesday there was a drug test. I was so sick, Tuesday night, I'm out getting high, knowing I'm gonna fail that test, with prison hanging over my head. Now tell me that that's not a power of addiction.
Yeah.
You have no control over yourself. So knowing that I was gonna go back to prison, it's not that I didn't care, because I did care. I cared about my kid, I cared about my dad, I cared about friends, and I cared about my image. But that drug just had me, and it had me to the point to where it was in the driver's seat, and I was just a passenger on this crazy ride that I couldn't get out of. I could not get out of. And it unfortunately led me down that road to prison 3 times. 3 times.
I can definitely relate to you saying that alcohol and drugs, when it takes over and you become the passenger to your life, that you become a different person. It can have you utilizing behavior that you wouldn't normally utilize when you are sober.
Right.
And
That's right.
I know, I can speak from my own experience that, you know, I used to blame people quite a bit. You know, when I would get in trouble with the law, or I would get in trouble with friends, or I would still be drunk and have to go to work the next day, I would blame a party, I would blame friends, I would blame this, I would blame that, because I didn't recognize at that time that I was actually making choices. Right? There was a time I woke up in my life and I was presented this idea that everything was a choice, and it really blew my mind. And it really had me like walking down this rabbit hole and being like, oh my gosh, everything I've ever done in my whole life has been a choice, and I'm not a victim.
Right. Yes.
And I had to start looking with clarity at the choices that I made when I was actively using, and say, yes, I did that, yes, I did that, yes, I did that. And that was really healing for me. And I'm just curious, you know, your perspective on that. As you started to heal, as you started to gain clarity, as you started to gain more sobriety, as you started to understand that, you know, everything that we do in life is of our own choice, and that we really aren't victims to our life. We're the creators of our life. We are always in the driver's seat. Like, what did that concept bring to your life once you started to own that concept and make healthier choices in your life?
I went through stages when it comes to that. You know, at first when I was using and I didn't care, I didn't care. But then there came to a point to when the last time back in 2014 was the last time I got out of prison. And from like 2014 to 2018, and 4 years, I was still spiraling out of control. But then there was a point there that I wanted to stop, but I couldn't stop. So instead of looking at myself and putting the blame on me and realizing that it's my choices, I started blaming other people. Oh, you know, it's because of my childhood. You know, my dad. You know, whatever. You know, he wasn't there growing up, or we never had a father-son relationship. So because of him, I'm using. Or these relationships that I was a failure at, and then all the heartbreak that I've been through, it's their fault that I'm using, okay? Or whatever may be the subject, I was blaming everyone else. But in reality, it's the vicious circle. If it wasn't for my addiction, I probably wouldn't have a meaningful relationship, or my dad and I would be on better terms, or me and my son would have been closer throughout the years. But I was blaming the addiction, or I was blaming them for the addiction, and I couldn't stop, and it was pushing them away, and the more I used, it would push them away, and then the more they went away, the more I would use. So it was a vicious cycle. I was on probation this last time, and I was pretty bad, and I was on the verge of going to prison for the 4th time. And my probation officer was one of the ones who, instead of the other ones that I've had in the past, who just stuck me in prison just because they wanted to get rid of me, he actually cared. And he sat me down, and we've had talks, and he gave me chances, and he gave me chances, and he gave me chances. And finally he said, look, you're gonna either you're gonna go to prison, or I'm putting you in rehab. Now, I've been in rehab before, but the ones that I was at before, I don't know, it was because I didn't want to go, or didn't think that, or because I still wanted to use, or maybe it wasn't effective. But this one that he put me in this time, really made it hit the mark with me, because I wanted to stop and I couldn't. So I went in there and I really took things serious. I also believe that the time that I was in rehab, them 3 months, I was away from the drug for them 3 months. So I had no access to it. So I think that also helped with the cravings, with the subconscious addiction, okay? And I had a chance to look at myself, and I had a chance to, like you were saying, these are my choices that I'm making. It isn't his fault or their fault or their fault. It's in me. You know, last time that we were talking in the interview, I said that, you know, maybe there was a hole that I was trying to fill. I didn't know what the hole was. But I think what the hole was is it was me looking for myself, finding out who I was. Because I couldn't figure out why I was a bad son or a bad, you know, partner in a relationship. I couldn't figure it out. It was drugs, but it was also me. I had to fix myself. I had to learn who I was. And I was using drugs to numb myself because I didn't like me, or I didn't want to face up to the fact that I'm the problem. You know? So, I mean, yeah, to answer that question, that's how I figured out, and how I ended up the process of stopping it, and not blaming others, and looking at myself, and realizing that I was the problem, and it was my choices. Because when I was in rehab last time, they kept telling me, they would beat in your head every day, you don't have to live like this anymore. You don't have to live like this anymore. Now, I was at a point in time before I went into rehab that I didn't want to, in the morning I'd wake up, I didn't want to use, but I would use it. And then I was starting to think, well, hey, I just got to realize this is going to be my life for the rest of my life, so this is how I want to live. But I don't have to live that way, you know?
So you started to understand that behaviors, right? It was behaviors that needed to be changed, that there were a set of certain behaviors that were unhealthy that had become conditioned.
Sure.
And you needed to create new behaviors so that you could create a new identity around becoming a healthy person. And in doing this, then you kind of learned and navigated and connected to the truth of who you really were.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Yeah.
Once I feel that I have discovered who I was as a person, that I'm not this failure, that I'm not this loser, just accept it, that I'm not that person. There's something in my head that clicked, and I started to realize that I do matter, that I am smart, that I am funny, you know, that I do have this knowledge that I can pass on to others. And now that I have, I've achieved the point, because you know, once you're an addict, you're always an addict. It's just a matter of, I don't want to say controlling it. It's a hard word to say. Beating the addiction, I suppose. I'm at the point now to where I feel like as I give back, and as giving back, helping others. And like I said at the beginning of the show, it's a passion that I never knew I had. And it not only does it keep me sober, but it also keeps me responsible. Because of everything that I've lost through my addiction, I'm getting back now with a family, a relationship, a job. You know, I go every day. I'm not calling off. You know, stuff like that. It's and also that level of responsibility. I welcome it. It's exciting. Having that responsibility it drives me, you know. And plus, and also with this group that I have on Facebook, the people that are reaching out to me, it's a responsibility to them. It's a responsibility to stay sober, to be a role model, to be a beacon of light for these people, because there's people out there that they're probably watching right now that are lost, that are sick. And if there's just one word that I can say in a video that might change someone's mind just that night, hey, you know, that's what I'm here for. You know what I mean?
So it sounds to me like you were able to receive one of the most powerful gifts on this planet, and that was your light got turned back on when you recognized that your pain is your greatest power.
Right, yeah, that's powerful right there, you're right. The pain is the greatest power. because if you're sick of the pain, if you're sick of it, if you're waking up every day, and I know how addiction, when you're a prisoner of addiction and you're a prisoner in your own body, you know, and there's something else that controls you. You know, if you're being controlled at work, you can quit the job and get another job. If you're being controlled in a relationship, you can walk out on it. But when you're being controlled by addiction, that's something that physically isn't there, that's in your mind, it's hell. So when you can break that addiction, when you can break that chain, the relief is the more you do it, every day that you're clean, the more you're clean, the more the more aha you have, like, oh my God, I can really beat this. You know, and it just gives you more drive, and you wake up and you start feeling better, you start looking better, you have more energy, you're eating better, you're sleeping better. You know, once you realize that there's a whole nother life out there, I mean, for me, that's one of the biggest drives ever. You know, I wake up in the morning, like I said on the last show, I'll get up in the morning, I'll walk outside and feed the squirrels and breathe the fresh air in the morning, and that's a high in itself. You know what I mean? It's a high in itself.
Absolutely.
I'm looking forward to what that day has to offer, rather tan saying, well, hey man, it's 9 a.m., I should be drunk by now, I better get up to the store and get it. Or waiting there when the store opens up and start selling beer at 6 in the morning in the parking lot for a half hour. You know, what kind of life is that? You can't, that's not a life to live. I mean, all that is being lost. And that's why I think, like I mentioned in the last show, a lot of folks contemplate suicide or even commit suicide because they don't want to live that way. They don't. They're so unhappy. I see in these Facebook groups that I'm part of, and the ones, you know, they'll say, hey, you know, I'm sick of living life this way. How do I break this? I don't know if I can live any longer. These people are really thinking about it. And it's not because, you know, they're not, some are married, some have a meaningful relationship. You know, some of them have, you know, kids that are in college and doing great. They have money. But they have this monkey on their back of addiction and with the addiction becomes depression and anxiety. You know, and the deeper that you dive into addiction, the deeper that depression is going to be, because you wake up, you know, in the next morning, and now you want to get high or you want to get drunk, and you have no money. Man, you're depressed. You know.
Absolutely. Well, this has absolutely been another incredibly powerful interview, Chris. Thank you so much for being on the show again today.
No problem.
Friends, this, you know, the ability to have the light turn back on inside of us is a potential that all of us is capable of having. So I really love how Chris was granted, in my opinion, one of the greatest and most powerful gifts on this planet, and that is to recognize that our greatest pain is in turn our greatest power, and that's what this interview has really shined forth today. Chris, would you mind sharing with us how people can connect with you if they, you know, if this video spoke to them? How can they connect with you? Where can they find you? What are your Facebook groups, or can they friend request you?
Yeah, absolutely. First of all, I'm Chris Thomas. You'll see, like the last one, you'll see my face. That's my personal page. And as you said earlier, Facebook, for some reason, a couple of days ago, deleted my last account, so I had to start a new one. But it's all fresh. My sobriety group is called Sobriety Life After Darkness. I'm an admin, and a couple other people are admins, a really good friend of mine, a couple good friends of mine. And so you can come on there, you know, have a request to join, and I'll approve you right away. It's a fantastic group. We're small. We just started not too long ago, but we're growing fast. I go live daily in there. The other admins, they're really interactive with everyone. And I'm not one of the ones that, you know, because I'm on there, or you see me in a video, you can reach out to me in my private message. I always talk, I always answer. I don't look, you know, I don't feel that I'm better or anything like that. If you have questions, or if you have comments, concerns, whatever it is you may have, please feel free to reach out to me. But Chris Thomas on my personal page, my public page, and also in the group you can find it. It's Sobriety Life After Darkness. Please come take a look and join in. We have a great family, we have a great group.
I personally, friends, have never seen a really huge impact as fast as I have from Chris showing up in this world. And as he said, he had a different account and things happened as they always do. And we all love our social media platforms, but his old account got deactivated. But I just want to point out that I have witnessed Chris grow a raving community, influencing people, reaching out to him the fastest that I have ever witnessed anyone in my entrepreneurial journey. And it has been so inspiring to watch. Thousands of people he's impacted in such a very short amount of time, and has people reaching out to him all the time because of his beautiful, huge, caring heart. He really does care about addicts. So if he spoke to you today at all, believe me when I tell you, you're in good hands. You can reach out to him. He will make sure that you get supported in the way that you need support, and he has resources to connect you with if he feels like he may not be the right resource for you. So Don't be afraid to reach out to him.
Yes, absolutely. We have some folks that are in the group that are certified coaches, certified I guess you could say counselors that you can talk to one-on-one. So we took the group one step further. You know, a lot of these groups, you go in and they'll share their posts and people will answer. And some of these answers these people give are stupidest stuff I've ever seen. I don't mean to down anybody on that, but I mean, you know, some like they'll put a post out in the group and people will answer, and it's just, you know, but we have people that I can direct to talk more professional. Everything from addiction to maybe smoking cigarettes, to eating, to whatever it may be. Even if like you're contemplating suicide, then we have people we can talk to on that too.
So it sounds like you took a system that was working for some groups, but you amplified it and created more value.
Yeah.
You created more value posts, you created more community support, and people who have credentials and experience behind them to help guide people and to offer tips and value to the community.
Well, like what I did was me and a friend of mine who I was in jails and prisons with, his name's well, you'll see when you go on the group. Him and I got together back in February, and then we added another admin to it as well. But I took a little bit from this group and a little bit from this group, and him and I talked about things, and we're like, you know, well, why don't we, instead of just being a group where people can come on here and just, you know, vent or try to get opinions from other members of the group who are sick themselves, why don't we have people in the group that can back us up, that have college degrees, that do this stuff for a living, counselors, coaches, you name it. As a matter of fact, one of the counselors that was when I was in rehab, he was one of my counselors. He helped me. He reached out to me and he seen my videos, and he said I helped him. He said, hey, maybe how did he say it? He said maybe the teacher needs taught or something like that. Or, yeah, but it's fantastic. And you know what? And once again, right there's another guy. He was one of my counselors, so there he is. He's available. He's a counselor in a rehab. That if I don't have an answer, I can direct you to him. And there's others as well, you know, professionals that we have in the group. Like I say, it's a small group. We don't even have quite 200 people in there now, but it's growing daily. And we just opened it up not too long ago. So it's growing faster than what we thought. And everyone that's in that group, man, they're all understanding. We're all recovering addicts or alcoholics. They have no problem hiding what it is they've done. You know, they have no shame. They'll tell you right now, yeah, I've done this. Yes, I've done this. I've done this. You know, so you come into the group, you don't have to come in embarrassed. You know, hey, I used to go to Walmart stealing TVs to give to the drug dealer. Okay. And a couple times I went to prison. I was on probation. I got caught running out of Walmart with a TV. Cops tackled me in the parking lot. There you go. We don't have nothing to hide. So if you feel the same, if you're in the same boat as me, hey, so what? We can stop and we can move on from here. You know?
What a beautiful community. So thank you again, Chris, for coming on the show and sharing your experience, strength, and hope in an even greater way. You are definitely impacting lives. You're such an inspiration, not only to me, but to so many other people. Again, friends, this is episode 32 of Connections Restored TV. I am an affiliate of the Bill and Callie Show Network. You can connect with Chris on his public Facebook profile at Chris Thomas, or in his group Sobriety Life After Darkness.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and if you feel called to connect with me, you can connect with me on my business page, Connections Restored. Please make sure you follow and like the Bill and Callie Show Network. Again, my name is Amy Boswinkle. I'm an intuitive and a women's energetic mindset, marketing, and strategy business coach. And it has been such a pleasure to talk with you again this week. And I can't wait to talk to you guys all again next week. I love you so much. Have a great day. Bye-bye.
This episode of The Bill and Callie Show is brought to you by
Connections Restored, helping people who suffer from trauma, PTSD, and addictions. Connect with us at connectionsrestored.com. Connections Restored.